The X-Files has been quietly revolutionizing primetime television for 5 years. It follows the paranormal investigations of FBI Special Agents Fox Mulder and Dana Scully. Now one of television's hottest series, it makes the jump to the big screen. The plot is as shrouded in secrecy as any conspiracy Mulder and Scully have ever faced. Here is the trailer from the film.
I'm an annoyance to my superiors, a joke to my peers. They call me Spooky. Spooky Mulder. I'm the key figure in an ongoing government charade. The plot to conceal the truth about the existence of extraterrestrials.
Well, I would say that about does it, Spooky.
It's mutated.
Into what?
I can't tell you what killed this man. I'm not sure anybody else could claim to either.
These men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon.
And you have conclusive evidence of this?
Yes.
I'm already way past the point of common sense here.
You can't quit now, Scully. I need you on this. It's a global conspiracy with key players at the highest levels of power. It reaches into the lives of every man, woman, and child on this planet.
You've seen more than you should.
Then you must take away what he holds most valuable.
The impossible scenario that we never planned for? Well, we better come up with a plan. These people don't make mistakes. We have no context for what killed those men. So much for little green man.
Trust no one, Mr. Mulder.
Joining me now, X-Files star David Duchovny. I just love trust no one.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome to this broadcast.
Thank you for having me
here.
Thanks.
What is it about X-Files that has captured the imagination, affection, curiosity of an American television audience, and you hope an American movie audience?
Well, I think first and foremost, I always answer that question by saying it's a good show, and that people wouldn't watch, no matter if you have theories about the American love of conspiracy theories or American paranoia or whatever sociological perspective you want to bring to bear on the show's popularity. I think it's a well-made, entertaining show that has aspects of all different kinds of TV dramas in it. I mean, it's a cop drama, it's a medical drama from time to time, it's a soap opera, it's funny, it's well shot. So it has all that going for it. Now, aside from that, you know, you can discuss forever about, you know, trust no one, as you said, whether or not that's a truly American sentiment, and it probably is, you know.
It also has, we'll come back to that, but it also has the notion of the two characters. I mean, in the end, you could have all the other thing, but you have two characters that you like, and there's this huge attraction, but they're not together. And
yeah, I think that people respond to the restraint that the characters have, not just emotionally. I think you can read the emotions, but they're not displayed. But I think also the physical restraint that the two characters have for each other. They haven't. It's been 5 years and they haven't kissed, and yet they have some kind of deep love
chemistry,
for one another.
love and chemistry.
Yeah. So I think people are really stimulated by that. I guess restraint is the only word I can come up with, and it kind of harkens back to another time in a way when it was, you know, when people just didn't just jump in the sack in the films immediately and then fall in love or out of love or whatever.
It also has their equals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're equals, and in a way they've kind of switched gender stereotypes, because the character I play, Mulder, is the intuitive one, goes with his instinct. You know, woman's intuition, he has that, and Scully is the rationalist, the doctor.
Scientist.
The scientist, the one who's always putting the brakes on, you know, the flighty man. So I think people also enjoy that crisscrossing.
How is the movie different from the television series, other than the fact that it's longer, it took longer to make, and more goes into, what is it, 2.5 hour movie?
Yeah, it's a 2 hour movie.
2 hour movie.
It may seem 2.5 hours.
Well, no.
I think that the struggle was to make it big enough to exist on the big screen. I mean, a movie-going experience is just so quantitatively and qualitatively different from a TV experience. I mean, it's a small box, the TV. You can treat it with disrespect if you want to. You can mute it. You can walk out of the room. A movie, you know, you go to a theater, it's like you pay homage to the movies. You pay your money, you sit in the dark with strangers, and you're assaulted by this huge screen. So we had to come up with a story and a look that would pay service to that nature of it, and I think it does. I mean, we have a lot more, you know, just in terms of special effects and explosiveness, and just the beauty of the film is much more intense than on the TV show.
You go into the weekend of June 19th.
Yeah.
With the fact that you've got a huge television audience.
Yeah.
That's going to be interested. I mean, that's a leg up.
Yeah.
And characters that they've already said they like.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you know, this is the reasoning behind Fox putting up the money to make this film. But what the challenge facing the filmmakers was to not only satisfy a very picky and devoted following of our TV show, but to also satisfy people that know nothing about the TV show, so that you could walk into this film
having never seen the X-Files and never even heard the name.
Yeah, and I don't know how it's possible not to have heard the name at this point, but having never seen it, in fact, having escaped it somehow, willfully escaped it probably, and then to understand the characters, to understand the kind of Byzantine plots that we have going throughout it, to understand all the inside jokes. And I think that what I'm most proud of in the film is that I think it really does work on both those levels.
Do you do things that you wanted to do in the television series but couldn't?
Well, there were some adjustments.
Plot, not in terms of just pyrotechnics.
Right. Not so much in terms of plot, but in terms of characterization. The challenge facing me was Chris Carter, the creator of the show, had come to me and said, you know, what you don't know when we're filming the show last year, what I didn't know was the full year of the TV show leading up to this. Mm-hmm. So he said, what you don't know we're going to shoot next year is that by the end of the year, you've been shut down. You know, all your cases have been taken away from you, and your office has been burned down. So you're at the low point in your life and your career when this movie starts. You're very depressed. And I said, well, that may be, but I don't think if we're also going for a new audience, we don't want to introduce them to a brooding, moping character. Now, on the TV show, they allow me to brood and mope because they know me and they know that it's cyclical. This week I'm moping and next week I'm okay. Yeah. But in the TV, if you walk, on the film, if you walk in and there's this mopey guy, you're going to walk out. So the choice that I made was the response to having everything taken away is either you can mope and brood and be depressed, or you can become angry and kind of irreverent. And so the beginning of the movie is much more humorous, the humor coming out of that anger and irreverence, rather than the brooding Mulder that you may know on television.
As a young actor who came out of Yale to find this career, I mean, is this what you wanted to do and be when you thought about becoming an actor?
Well, I was in Yale for English literature,
I know.
so I
Right.
I wasn't coming out to do this at all. But no, I had always envisioned going through college and graduate school that I would teach and write. You know, that I would teach in order to pay the bills and take 3 or 4 months off, as teachers get wonderful vacation time, and try to write in that time. So I never thought about acting, envisioned acting in any way.
So how did it end up that you're here talking to me about a feature film and a very successful television series?
In a way, it's just life that happens day by day, and then you look back, 10 years have passed, and it seems to have been this momentous decision that you made, and I wish that I could take credit for having made an instinctual and wonderful decision back then, but I never did. I was interested in writing plays, maybe screenplays, and I thought it would be smart to learn something about acting, so I started hanging out at Yale with the actors, because they're more fun anyway, and enjoyed the acting that I did, started auditioning in New York, got an agent, this kind of thing, you know, just step by step. So in retrospect, I think I was pretty smart, but if you would ask me on a daily basis back in 1986 when I wasn't writing my dissertation and, you know, I wasn't getting any acting jobs, then I would have said I'm an idiot.
What was the subject of your dissertation?
It was called Magic and Technology in Contemporary American Fiction and Poetry. And that's the whole dissertation right there. That's 200 pages. It's a 200-page title.
You finished it?
Oh, no.
I didn't think so. You didn't.
No. I wrote probably a chapter. I sat through my orals. I passed my orals.
The orals for your PhD.
For my PhD.
Yeah. And all you had to do then was to
Yeah,
write the
people say
dissertation.
all you had to do is write a dissertation.
Right.
All you have to do is scale Everest. That's all. It's just a little hill we have here for you. And I don't think I ever will, but I was interested in it. I'd been writing critically, writing about other people's works for, a good 8 years through Princeton and Yale, and I just felt the need to do my own thing. I felt like my critical writing, although I think it was pretty good, it was always, I was using other people's works as an excuse to voice my own voice.
What difference do you think it made that you have this background, either in terms of how you approach acting or the perception of you?
I can't speak to the perception of me. I know that in the beginning, when I used to go on auditions, I would have agents that would say, don't mention that you went to Yale, because for some reason people, it's not that people like their actors dumb, because I certainly, met many dumb people along the way in these wonderful schools. You can find dumb
and you
smart
met some
people.
very bright actors.
Absolutely. But it's almost as if we have this prejudice that in this country that actors are instinctual and animalistic in this way, and that education hurts actors. So in that sense, people would say, don't intimidate them by saying that you went to Yale, and don't let them have an out, which is, yeah, he thinks too much, or, he's not impulsive
He's too
enough.
intellectual.
He doesn't have the energy. He's not bouncing around the room, So there was that. And then in terms of my own approach, I think it helps the discipline that I needed, because it wasn't like I was any kind of natural at what I did in academia. I mean, I was good, but it wasn't like they were crowning me the next Harold Bloom in any way.
You were going to be America's intellectual superstar.
No, I don't think that I was. So I worked really hard. And I think that discipline and that kind of critical discipline was good. It was good for me. I mean, I've always had strong discipline, and that's helped, and I got that from being an academic.
And much is made about these two facts, and the difference between you and your character and her character, number one,
Yeah.
that point you just pointed out in part, and the difference between the two of you.
Yeah.
Speak to that.
The difference between Mulder and Scully and the difference between Duchovny and Anderson?
Right.
Well, I think I spoke a little about the difference between Mulder and Scully.
No, so much between Mulder and Duchovny.
Oh, Mulder and Duchovny. Well, extremely different superficially. I mean, I'm not obsessed with aliens. I mean, I'm not obsessed with the paranormal. I mean, I'm interested. If you showed me an alien, I'd be stunned like anybody else. And I believe that if I had to make a wager and say that there is or there isn't other life in the universe, I'd probably wager that there is.
I would too.
I don't believe that we've been contacted by them.
Or that they've come down on a spaceship and observed us.
That's possible, but we haven't observed them.
Yeah.
And I find it amusing to think that all the alien encounters always have to do with body probes and things like that. If they're out there, they only seem to be interested in certain body cavities, which I find disturbing. But you do a character for 5 years, every day, 14 hours a day, 10 months out of the year, and the walls that you build up between yourself and this character necessarily come down. Like, I bleed through into Mulder all the time just because I can't be as vigilant as I was in the beginning. In the beginning I really had a sense of who Mulder was and who I was. But, you get so damn tired, and eventually, bits of David creep in that I don't necessarily want to be in, but there they are because I wasn't watching.
And how about Gillian and Scully?
Well, Gillian I'm sure is the same. Gillian obviously is more impulsive than Scully. I think anybody on this planet is, but Gillian.
Do you think anybody on the planet is more impulsive
than Scully?
Than Scully.
Yeah. but I think
No.
I think that Gillian is she has a certain cautiousness about her that informs Scully in every sense, and that they share that. As to whether or not pieces of Gillian bleed through into Scully, as I was describing it myself, that she would have to answer.
Well, are you
that.
too close?
Not personally.
Yeah.
We're close professionally as can be.
Yeah, I mean, there's respect and admiration, and as colleagues would have.
She's the other one holding the other side of the rope. You know, I mean,
yeah.
I rely on her. I trust her, and she does me. We don't, you know.
Why haven't you bonded then?
Well, we have bonded.
Well, I mean,
in
that's
that way.
In a professional way.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not friends. You don't go out to dinner. You're not.
No, no, because it's enough. You know, we spend so much time together, and in fact,
plus you have something very engaging to go home to.
Well, yes, but even if I didn't, I would just have my own solitude that I would want after a day on the set of The X-Files. But it's funny because Tay and I, my wife, just had a little party in our new house. It's my first party that I've ever given, really, in my life. And Jillian came. I invited Jillian, and she came. And when she came, I said, you know, this is really screwed up because I can't any longer say that we don't socialize.
Why do you think you were chosen? What is it about you that made you?
Most casting is done the moment the person walks in the door. And actors hate to realize that. In one way, it lets you off the hook because it doesn't matter what you did in the audition. Yeah. It's rare that you can sway somebody that I am this guy if he or she didn't think so when you walked in the room. So obviously when I walked in the room, I had something of his conception of Mulder.
What was that?
Probably just some kind of intelligence.
Look, smell, feel, intelligence,
yeah. And humor, I think a combination. I don't really know. I just remember I wanted to bring out the humanity in the character. I didn't want him to be a mad scientist. I didn't want him to be Doctor Who. I wanted him to be somebody, if you were going to believe these things that we were going to be doing in the show, I wanted to have somebody as seemingly trustworthy and not kooky in any way. So I just played him straight.
What's the appeal, do you think? There's a certain appeal because those two characters are viewed as bright, interesting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think it's very different. I mean, you know, nothing wrong with Beavis and Butthead, but that's, you know, we've come to love characters on sitcoms, animated characters who are either proud of their ignorance and their stupidity, or else just smart like foxes. You know, smart in stupid ways. You know what I mean? Like Beavis and Butthead are.
Yeah.
So I think people like to watch characters who think of themselves as intelligent occasionally, and you know, we don't condescend so much to people.
Yeah. Roll tape. This is a clip from X-Files, the film. For the television series and the upcoming one, do they want these two people to get together? Do they want them in bed?
They do and they don't, you know. They really want them to be in love, I think, and they want a natural expression of that or a continuation of that for them to be physical with one another. But I think there's also this great sense in which people realize that once you have physical intimacy, you can't go backwards. And does it, you know, I think they love the friendship and the tension so much.
I think the word tension I was thinking about.
Yeah.
The tension's always there. And you're always thinking, when I said to you as I watched that clip, what was she saying the way she looked at him, you know, and you said she never laughs at his jokes.
Right, yeah. And it's this kind of, once there become romantic stakes involved between two people, then aside from it kind of complicating the relationship between Mulder and Scully to an extent, it would also throw the show off, I think, because then, you know, you have Mulder and Scully investigating these cases and yet talking about their relationship. I mean, what are they going to do? Like, they're hiding down, chasing some kind of paranormal freak, and yet talking about, you know, what was the way you looked at me last night? I didn't like that, you know, nagging each other. So it's not going to become moonlighting. It can't. The show is about the stories, and it's about the quest. It's not about the love between the characters.
Has this show heightened your interest in all these things? We talked about a life, intelligent life somewhere else in the universe.
No, it hasn't.
Parapsychology is another subject.
I mean, I believe in the metaphysical, whatever that means. I believe that, you know, like Samuel Johnson, I don't refute it thus, you know, that he's, you know, that this table doesn't exist, really. And he said, well, I refute that, you know, thus. I believe there's more than just the physical. But I wouldn't put a label on it. I wouldn't put a God label on it. I believe there's so much energy in this world that it can't die with the body. But I don't think it retains any kind of particular personality.
But it can't die with a body. It has.
It doesn't. In my heart, I believe that there's too much in myself probably too much in you, too much in all of us. It can't be contained in this. And when this dies, it must go somewhere. I don't think, like I said, it doesn't retain any of me, but it goes back to the big pot, you know, and gets served as leftovers again, you know, I think.
How about conspiracy, the notion that they're out there?
Again,
Conspiratorial people who want to change the government,
yeah.
want to
Well, my father wrote a play
guys.
called The Trial of Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
So he was obviously a conspiracy buff. It was on Broadway for all of 3 days in 1967. So I guess it's in my blood, but in my experience of human nature, I've never watched or seen 2 or 3 people keep a secret for more than 3 or 4 days. The idea that there could be a conspiracy about the assassination of JFK, say, or a conspiracy to hide the existence of extraterrestrials, and that somebody wouldn't crack, somebody wouldn't come forward and say, I need to tell you the truth. I'm on my deathbed. I need to clear my soul, clear my conscience. It doesn't ring true of human nature. I think human nature, it's got plenty of lying in it. It's got plenty of will to conspiracy. It's got plenty of plot making. But to be able to hide it that well so that it would take all the forces of the public to uncover it, I just don't believe that people are that good at it.
Roll tape. This is another clip from The X-Files film.
What do you think?
How long what does this movie change about your career in terms of anything?
I don't know. I don't really think of it that way. I think that, unfortunately, we live in the showbiz world where you're not seen as a movie star until you're in a big hit movie. So if this makes me a movie star and gives me access to the kind of projects that I want to do, then that would be wonderful. But other than that, you know, I'm just an actor, whether I'm in TV or film, and just an actor looking for the best roles.
And what makes the difference? Choices you have.
Yeah.
And if this gives you, movie stardom gives you more choices, the better it is.
Absolutely.
You know, and gives you more power and more money and all of that.
Aside from making a good film, that's what I would want out of this film.
Is there any, would you look at yourself among other actors because of your background and say, you know, I'm here and I'm acting and I love it, it's fun to do. I'm the last person who would have imagined me being here. And yet I know other actors and I'm sort of different. There's nobody, you know, I feel like I'm an alien among actors because it's not any of that?
Yeah, but I'm not sure it's because of my background. I just think I've always felt a little alien anyway. But I think that...
You are perfect for this role. Yeah.
I just think, you know, when you get into those kind of discussions, it's almost as if, you know, we have this machine of Hollywood that looks superficial, Tinseltown and all that crap. And yet you have a lot of really talented, non-superficial people working and existing within that system. I'm not saying you don't have superficial people in Hollywood, but you've got wonderfully deep and talented people and smart in many different ways. And, you know, so you gravitate, hopefully I gravitate towards the people that get me and that I get.
Come back to this program anytime, David. I've enjoyed it very much.
I have enjoyed it too. Thank you.
pleasure.
I will come back.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.